Hello, friends. Welcome to English Ideas. First of all, thank you so much for choosing to learn with me. Out of thousands of English lessons available online, you have decided to spend your time here, and I truly appreciate that. Before we begin, I would like to share something important about this channel and the course. You may have noticed that all the lessons are narrated using a real human voice, that is, my voice. That's a deliberate choice. Why? Because today AI voices have become incredibly natural, they're clear, smooth, and almost flawless. But that's exactly the point. They are too perfect. But real conversations are rarely perfect. When people speak in everyday life, they pause, they change their tone, they emphasize certain words, and sometimes they even make small mistakes. That's how real communication sounds. So, if your goal is to understand English as it is spoken in the real world, then learning from a real human voice gives you a much more practical experience. It helps you become comfortable with natural rhythm, emotion, pacing, and the small imperfections that are part of everyday conversations. So, here at English Ideas, I do not just want to teach you English, I want to prepare you to use English confidently in real life. So do not worry if you do not understand every single word the first time. That's completely normal. Learning a language is not about understanding everything instantly, it's about understanding a little more every single day. So I encourage you to listen actively, pause the video whenever you need to, repeat the sentences aloud, shadow the pronunciation, and most importantly, enjoy the process. Every lesson is another step towards becoming a more confident English speaker. Thank you once again for being here. I am genuinely excited to be part of your learning journey. Now, let us get started to train your brain to think in English. All right. So, before we start, let me also tell you that by the end of this lesson, you will discover why thinking in your native language is slowing down your English and how to break that habit. You will learn simple and practical techniques to train your brain to think directly in English, so that you can speak with greater confidence, less hesitations, and more fluency. These are habits you can start using from today. So let's make yourself think in English naturally. Okay, have you ever wondered why speaking English feels so difficult, even though you have spent years learning it? Maybe you have memorized grammar rules, maybe you have filled your notebooks with vocabulary, maybe you have watched hundreds of English videos, yet when someone asks you, "Can you tell me about yourself?" your mind goes completely blank. But why? Here is the surprising part. It has a very little to do with your English and your knowledge. Your brain is simply doing too much of work. Let me show you what I mean. Imagine you're driving to work every morning. There is a straight road that takes just 10 minutes. But instead of taking that road, you decide to drive 30 minutes in the opposite directions, make a huge circle around the city, and then finally come back to your destinations. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Yes, that's exactly what many English learners do every time they speak. They hear an English question, their brain translates it into their mother tongue, they think of the answer, and then they translate the answer back into English, and only then they speak. No wonder why that conversation feels so slow. The problem is not your vocabulary, it is the route or the path your brain has learned to take. Let me give you an example of a boy. Let's call him Raj. Raj was not bad at English. He could read newspapers, he could understand movies without subtitles, he scored well on English test. But whenever someone asked him a simple questions during an interview, he froze. Not because he did not know the answer, because his brain was searching for a translator instead of a voice. One evening after the another frustrating interview, Raj asked himself a simple questions. What if I am practicing the wrong skill or the wrong way? That question changed everything. Instead of trying to learn more English, he decided to teach his brain a new habit. The next morning he woke up, he looked around his room and quietly said, "Fan, window, backpack, phone, no translation, just the object and its English name." It felt strange, almost childish, but he kept doing it anyways. While brushing his teeth, he whispered, "I am brushing my teeth. The water is cold. I need to hurry." When he made a tea, he thought, the water is boiling. I have added too much of sugar. When he left for work, he noticed the sky is cloudy, the bus is crowded, the traffic is moving slow. Tiny sentences, nothing impressive, no difficult vocabulary, no grammar exercises, just ordinary life described in English. A few weeks later, something unexpected happened. He did not notice it at the first, but one day a colleague asked, are you coming for lunch? And before he had time to translate, he simply replied, yes, give me 2 minutes. The answer came naturally. For the first time, English was not something he had to build, it was simply there. So, what changed? His English did not magically improve overnight, his brain did. Here is something fascinating about our human brain. It does not care whether a habit is good or bad. It only cares whether it's repeated or not. If you spend years translating every sentence, your brain will become incredibly efficient at translating, but not at the speaking. That's an important difference, right? Think about driving a car. The first time you sat behind the wheels, everything demanded your complete attention. The mirrors, the clutch, the brake, the gears, every movement felt complicated. But today, experienced drivers can reach home and barely remember the journey. And the driving did not become easier, but the brain simply automated the process. Language works the same way. Fluency is not about thinking faster or speaking faster, it's about removing unnecessary steps. So, now the question is, how do we train your brain to do that? Not by memorizing another list of vocabulary, but by changing your daily habits. Tomorrow morning, before you touch your phone, try something simple. Look around the room, don't translate, don't overthink, just notice what you see. For example, if you see curtains, just say curtains. If you see desk, just say desk. If you see a bottle, just say bottle. Whatever you see, right? And now make a tiny observations and try to make small sentences. For example, my room is not clean, the window is open, I need to clean this desk. And if you do not know a word, do not panic. Use easier words. Instead of saying I am exhausted, say I am very tired. Instead of I am frustrated, say I am not happy. Real communication is not about using impressive and advanced words. It's about expressing clear ideas. That's exactly how children learn. They do not wait until they know thousands of words. They use the few words they have again and again until those words become part of them. There is another habit that can completely change the way you think. Talk to yourself. Yes, it sounds a little strange, but hear me out. Professional athletes or sport person imagine winning before the competition begins. Musicians rehearse in the empty rooms. Actors practice in front of the mirrors. Why should language learners be any different? Imagine you are ordering coffee. Imagine introducing yourself to someone new. Imagine explaining your job. Imagine telling a friend about your weekend. No audience, no pressure, just you and your thoughts. Every imaginary conversation prepares your brain for a real one. Now, let me tell you about the mistakes almost every learners make. They wait until their English becomes perfect before they start thinking in English. But that's like waiting until you become fit even before going to the gym. Perfection is not the starting point, but practice is. Your brain learns through usage, not through waiting and daydreaming. And here is another truth that many people do not realize. Watching English videos is helpful, reading books is helpful, listening to podcasts is helpful. But if English only goes into your brain but never comes out, your progress will always be slow. Knowledge grows only when it's used, not when it is simply stored. So here's the challenge for you. For the next 7 days, spend just 10 minutes a day living in English, not studying, living. What I mean by that is, you can try describing your breakfast, describing your journey to work, describing the weather, describe your thoughts. Don't worry about the mistakes. Don't stop to translate. Don't worry about the mistakes. Just keep moving. Some sentences will be awkward, some words will be missing. That's perfectly fine. Remember, fluency is not speaking without mistakes. Fluency is expressing your thoughts without fear. And one day, probably when you least expect it, Someone will ask you a question in English. Your brain won't search for your mother tongue. It won't look for grammar rules. It won't ask for permissions. It will simply answer. And that's the moment you'll realize something beautiful. English is no longer a subject to study for you, it's a language you think in. And that's the moment everything begins to change. So, if this idea has helped you see English differently, you are in the right place. Because one good idea can change the way you learn and sometimes the way you live. Thank you for staying with me till the very end. I will see you in the next lesson. Bye bye.